Coming up on Chopper's Political Podcast. Always the joke I make is the last thing you want to hear when you go to the doctor. It's progressive.
Welcome back to Chopper's Political Podcast, where I bring you the best guests, gossip, news and stories from our studios at GB News here in the heart of Westminster. Last week, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer reshuffled his top team after the dramatic exit of his deputy, Angela Rayner. While for many that reshuffle looked like a game of musical chairs, just three people leaving the cabinet, some key appointments were made, notably Shabana Mahmood, who's moved from the Justice Brief to be the Home Secretary. And of course, other new names in there, Alex Norris and Mike Tapp. Mike Tapp, well known to GB News viewers and listeners. Is this a new focus on the issues that matter to supporters, maybe of those who are going towards Reform UK from Labour? Some say this is all part of Morgan McSweeney's genius. Who's he? He's the Chief of Staff running the operation, the key advisor to Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. Is he trying to move the party towards becoming Blue Labour to take on the fight against reform? Who better to ask that question of than the founder, the great mind behind Blue Labour, but Lord Glasman, Maurice Glasman, and he's here with me in the studio. Maurice Glasman, welcome to Chopper's Political Podcast.
Really good to see you, Chopper.
What was last week about? So he got rid of three members of the cabinet. One because he had to, Angela Rayner. Two because he wanted to, Lucy Powell and Ian Murray. So otherwise, everyone moved around to different places. So he only feels he's got the best team, but not in the right jobs until now. Is that right?
Yeah, it's elements of the Titanic, I think, moving. I don't think this is the fundamental reshuffle. I think that it was quite ad hoc in relation to, it was quite unexpected in the general scheme of things for Angela Rayner to have to resign. And so there's a shift. The significant one is certainly Shabana Mahmood, who I've known for 10 years. I trust her. I like her.
Yeah.
And she's got a quite intense conviction that the meaning of her faith and her life is to serve this country. She's got a particular concern.
Her faith being a Muslim faith.
Yeah. So she's a very precious person to me. She's a genuine, patriotic Muslim. And
that's really valuable to Labour, doesn't it? I think.
I think it makes her valuable to
politically
the country. I think this is the vital thing. We've got to really concentrate on solidarity, on building relationships between communities that have become estranged. I think that's a really huge thing, and I think she's a leader in that. So I'm just saying for your viewers, I personally really respect her. I actually treasure her. She's an asset to the party for
Why
sure.
couldn't Yvette Cooper be that person? Why couldn't Dame Angela Eagle, who was the immigration minister, do the same role? They've both been moved out.
Well, in the case that they're two different cases. In the case of Angela Eagle, she was never fully persuaded that a hard line on borders, on sovereignty, on stopping the boats was the right agenda. So that's just a straightforward political matter. Yvette Cooper's very capable, but she's moved actually to the Foreign Office, where of that grouping, she was the most Eurosceptical. So the big argument, Chopper, to follow in the next 9 months is, are we going to go with Ukraine? Are we going to go for bilateral? Are we going to go to have a balance of power against Paris-Berlin, against the EU? Or we continue to play footsie with the corpse, as I call it, like with Germany.
The EU being a corpse.
Yeah.
So she's a Eurosceptic, is she?
Much more, yeah. Yvette Cooper's very, it's a podcast, not an interview as such. She represents a Yorkshire constituency where reform is very strong and has been, that sentiment of Euroscepticism has been very strong for a long time. She is engaged with that. She's talked to that. So I actually think that she's a tougher prospect at the Foreign Office. The way that I see it is that the next 6 months, we've got to really get tougher with France. That's going to be the dominant European.
France we've given £500 million to try and secure the border, and it's barely happening. You've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, it says that they're not putting that.
Time to end amicable. All this Macron coming over and saying, "Oh, the immigrants can't." But
lecturing us on Brexit, which he had no right to do.
The audacity of that has yet to be fully reckoned with. But above all, he said that illegal migrants were coming because we've got a cash economy. I've lived a long while. I had to leave his speech in the Lords when he said that. I said,
You walk out.
Yeah, I just walked out because that's just disrespectful and silly. What's got to happen is that France has got to control its border. And I think that she's got more steel in her Yvette Cooper in that space.
Well, I'm told by friends of hers that she will be taking the small boats agenda, such as it was at the Home Office, into the Foreign Office. So that connection. I mean, we heard David Lammy talk about irregular migration. I always think it's illegal migration, not irregular. Call it what it is.
It's illegal. It's unwanted. Yeah. We don't want to stop it.
What we do want, I think, is refugees fleeing persecution.
Okay, so we've got to
stop. In an orderly fashion.
Yeah, we've got to stop talking about them as asylum seekers. They're perfectly capable of having asylum in France. France is a member of the ECHR. It's a safe country. Why are we calling them refugees when they're leaving France? They're not running for their lives. Their life is not in danger.
It was once.
Maybe. But that's not. It's just we've said we don't want it, and we've got to live that. So, in terms of what I would call a reshuffle involves a pack of 52 cards, right? This was more like a few movements at the top.
So another reshuffle soon then, maybe?
No, I don't think soon. I think as the winter turns to spring and Reform remain 10% ahead in the polls.
And the May elections are looming.
And May elections. The May elections, I think, are going to be the turning point for Labour, for this government.
In what sense? But you mentioned the word Titanic earlier. That hit the iceberg. I mean,
so what we see,
always an iceberg.
What we see, okay, so, before all this happened, I was a historian. Yeah. I was and it didn't occur to me, even 10 years ago, that the Conservative Party, which is a great old distinguished party, really, I mean, which has morphed.
The oldest, I think, is the oldest.
It's the oldest, yeah. And they went down to their worst election results since 1832, right, last time.
That was a great Reform Act. That was the beginning of democracy.
And I still don't think that the Conservative Party are being heard. I mean, I liken them to ghosts. They speak, but we can't hear. They're amongst us, but we can't see them. They're gone. To lose two great historical political parties in the space of 5 years, as Oscar Wilde would say, careless.
Yeah, the Labour won't be lost, though. You think it could be wiped out completely by Reform UK?
Well, the Conservatives have been wiped out completely. Labour is the party of the working class. It's always been that. It had the trust of the working class. I mean, I want to talk about history for a moment, why I care about it. When the rest of Europe went fascist and communist, Labour stayed straight for the monarchy, straight for Parliament.
And defence.
Always. If you look at Ernest Bevin, my political, you will understand how strong they were, how strong we always were for defending our borders. He opposed any of this human rights law in English law. I mean, he really opposed it. So Labour is a hugely important political party for the stability of the country and for the preservation of the inherited institutions, Parliament, common law, monarchy, all those things. If the Conservatives are now no longer what I call heard or active, so I'm not suggesting that the Labour is going to disappear. What I'm saying is it will lose its place as one of the two major political parties. And I don't want that to happen.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living. And maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney? Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind the more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
I asked Kerry Badenoch a similar question this week when she unveiled her plans to work with Labour on benefits reform. Here's what I asked her, and here's how she responded.
Chris Hope, GB News. Last night at the Parliamentary Labour Party, Keir Starmer talked about Reform UK twice. He talked about the Green Party as the problem facing Labour. Today, Bridget Phillipson talks more about reform, doesn't mention the Tory party. You haven't mentioned reform at all in your speech. Do you worry that you're sliding into irrelevance in politics as a party?
Reform want to increase welfare spending. I did mention them. I said every single other party. They don't get any special treatment. They're just as bad as all the other left-wing parties. Yeah. But the fact is, the Prime Minister is facing a political crisis. He is now more focused on what's going on with the Labour Party than what is going on with the country. It is my job as Leader of the Opposition to bring the attention to the issues that affect all of us, not on who's going to be Deputy Leader for Labour.
That was Kerry Badenoch there. Now, I was outside the Parliamentary Labour Party meeting on Monday night. At that meeting, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, he talked about the threat of reform. Nigel Farage, he called them plastic patriots. And he also had a go at the Greens. He called them plastic progressives. But the Tories weren't even mentioned. I'm looking at some of the literature from the MP standing to be a deputy leader of the party. They're not talking about the Tories. No one is talking about the Tories.
What I'm saying to you, I'm present and alert to all the political conversations that are going on. The Conservatives simply aren't mentioned.
No.
I mean, I mention them and say, we've got to get those votes. You know, we've got to plunder their carcass. We should be the party of law and order. We should be the party of the monarchy.
Plunder their carcass, my goodness me.
Yeah, plunder the carcass, because at the moment, true Conservatives are looking for a Conservative party.
And they're hearing that from Reform UK, despite they've got 4
Yeah, and I don't think they are Conservative Reform. Well, you see, I think they're reformists. You know, they're quite drastic. I talk about a more conservative disposition to renew our traditional institutions.
But just to go bottom off that point there, the Titanic point, Labour could be wiped out of the election by reform. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying that this is the menace, the real and present danger that Labour confronts. And, you know, I haven't got much time for, you know, always the joke I make is it's the last thing you want to hear when you go to the doctor. It's progressive. You know, with this idea that progressive is a good thing, I don't believe that.
Is Keir Starmer the person to create the party you're describing?
Well, he's Prime Minister. This is not an evasive answer. What I see with him is that he genuinely wants to be a national leader.
Yeah.
Don't think he cares too much about the party, actually. I don't think that's him. And he's making a drastic transition from being basically a human rights lawyer to being a national politician, being a Prime Minister. These next 6 months will be decisive for him.
He may not last this term.
He may or he may not. That's always true of politicians, by the way. Nobody predicted Thatcher going, Blair went. You know, they come
and they... boy events.
Yes, exactly.
We mentioned there the benefits speech by Kerry Badenoch. I thought the appointment of Pat McFadden into the benefits job is important. 6 million people being paid not to work by you and me through our taxation. That is not going to last. That can't last forever. That is not we need to get the government needs to get them back into work. I thought Pat McFadden could be the person who can crack the whip in White.
Very, very much so. So there was a great Labour MP called Frank Field. I mean, I was very close to him.
The late Frank Field, man.
The late Frank Field. I'm giving his memorial lecture talk, by the way, and it will be about this, that he was a visionary in terms of contribution, that it cannot conceivably be true that 30% of 18 to 25-year-olds are disabled. I mean, what are we saying to ourselves? It can't be true. So we've got to get and be genuinely generous to genuinely disabled people. That's what I want.
So you think mental health has been wrongly diagnosed in some parts?
And physical disabilities. Yeah. No, we've got to get big changes. If AI will come in, get rid of a lot of administrative jobs, then we can begin to get a relational welfare where people loneliness.
The party of workers.
Oh, imagine that. Imagine maybe we should call our party Labour. You know, that might be an idea.
So if they can get that happen, I mean, there's not a lot of time for this. We're now 3.5 years.
No,
away
so
from
this
the election.
combination, I just want to reiterate that Pat McFadden is a serious political operator.
He's an old wild bruiser. He knows how to make Whitehall.
And he's a working class guy from Glasgow, and he knows the difference between truth and.
And he talked to GB News from the very beginning, by the way. He understood us and our views very well.
True pilgrims. We are there. And then Shabana is a serious figure at the Home Office. As I've mentioned, Yvette Cooper is actually a much harder-faced foreign secretary than Home. So what you're beginning to see is an outline of a direction. What I want to see over the next 6 months is the consolidation of that direction.
And you mentioned May. May is the big moment. I mean, just to summarise May for viewers and listeners, it's 3 times bigger local elections than last May. So just on the local elections piece, it's huge. You've then got elections in Wales for the Senate, and it's twice as many seats as before, and you've got Scotland too. And Nigel Farage, his party, is gunning for Wales. They might win Wales. They could keep Labour out in Scotland if the SNP fall down there. And of course, there's all the gains he made in English locals. I mean, it's a real moment, isn't it, coming up?
That's the big moment, right? That's what so that nobody thinks I'm a dissembling, conniving politician. All my eyes are on May and what we do, because May will confirm the truth. And the truth is that Labour, as it stands, is not a tribune of working class trust.
How to win back that trust?
Well, you can only do it through action. And this is the glory of being in government. The government have got to get rid of the human rights stuff, get rid of all that, actually act. Build an industrial strategy, strengthen the armed forces, reform, fundamentally restore state functionality. And if these people can see that that's going, we can be resurrected.
Just on the Human Rights Act, GB News hosted a 2-hour debate on immigration this week, and the issue of the Human Rights Act came up. Let's have a listen to what Nigel Farage had to say.
Well, I'm absolutely convinced that without leaving the ECHR, without removing that weapon from British judges, we'll never stop the boats.
So Nigel Farage there saying that a Reform UK government would scrap the Human Rights Act and leave the European Convention on Human Rights and do something different. Is that the radicalism you want to see from Labour?
He's just nicking my stuff. I've said this for years. There was no reason when we signed the convention, the European Convention on Human Rights in 1950, the Attorney General, Hartley Shawcross, said in Cabinet that there was no way that this would have any status in British law. The continent had gone fascist, the continent had gone communist. There had to be some boundaries, but our civil liberties, our common law, our parliamentary sovereignty was sacred. Then, amazingly, I've read the Cabinet minutes. Attlee, the Prime Minister, says, I think we won the war. What? Did we win the war in order to give foreign courts power? No, I don't think so. And then Ernest Bevin chimed in and said, no way that they could have any status in the British court ever. Right? These are verbatim quotes from the Cabinet minutes.
So what is it? Judges have been over-interpreting?
What happened is that in the mid-60s, Roy Jenkins said that allowed now it was the European Court, not the Convention, to be borne in mind when making judgments. That opened the floodgates. But then we joined the EU. And when we joined the EU, that was sovereign law in terms of that.
That's different to ECHR, isn't it? It should be different to Strasbourg, European.
Yeah, but it became merged, and the fact that we signed it without ever committing it to be in law
until the Human Rights Act in 1998.
Then we got the Human Rights Act in 1998. This is all failed New Labour business. New Labour thought that harmonisation of interests and peace could be secured by multilateral conventions relating to law. It wasn't politics. What we've got now is the return of politics, and we've got to lead that.
wait and see if we can. You mentioned earlier, of course, Reform UK. You said they weren't right wing. Did you say that?
No, I said that they
left
weren't
wing.
really conservative.
Not conservative.
Yeah.
Well, no, this is what Kieran Badenlock makes these points to us. She thinks that they're the only right wing party, and Reform UK are somehow left wing.
That's bonkers. Reform are a very serious political party. I think when I talk about conservatism, and I consider myself much too conservative to ever be in the Conservative Party, just to let you know, what the Conservatives did to the working class under Margaret Thatcher remains unforgiven.
The mines, you mean?
Just the sheer
docks, the
disregard.
steelworks.
Yeah, the deindustrialization. The meaning of it all was the empowerment of the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, China became the industrial heartland. We lost our capacity to produce. We showed no dignity and love for patriotic.
Tin-eared approach towards
Nasty-
the North of England, particularly.
Yeah, but not only the North. I mean, my people in the South, the printers and all that, they all got screwed.
Wasn't that necessary to have that? That drove the economic growth in the 80s and 90s.
Well, it drove financial speculation and property assets. Let's be straight. Look at us now. I mean, now
Can't buy a house.
we had. I mean, by the way, honour and respect to John Healey. He's come up with the industrial strategy on defence.
Using defence money to drive economic growth.
That's it. That's absolutely essential, and that's just the beginning of that story. So when I say about reform, I don't think that they've got a coherent ideology in that way. It's the Conservatives ceased to be conservative with Thatcher. They became liberal globalisers. This is their dilemma. They lost their soul. What was beyond price? Everything had its price. Nasty. So what I'm saying is even their name reform. So my politics is the politics of restoration. I want to restore the integrity of Parliament, restore the effectiveness of the police, of our armed forces, restore the honour and integrity of public institutions.
So the party founded by Lawrence Fox, called Reclaim.
Reclaim?
What?
No. I think this is an age of restoration. And the idea, I got the idea just so that everybody doesn't think I'm a good person when I was in Washington for the inauguration. And
J.D. Vance,
never understood, though, Make America Great Again. It's the again bit.
That harks back to...
We have good things. Our country is wonderful. And what's great about it is broad toleration. We've got to restore. That's why I said about Shabana Mahmood is a very important person, because we need to actually have solidarity one with the other. Restore the police and the effectiveness and trust in the police. There's been a breakdown of trust. This needs to be restored.
I mean, on that, just on the issue of police, you've heard Mark Rowley saying this week how he thinks his officers shouldn't be prosecuting people for tweets. The Keir Starmer says in Prime Minister's Questions on Wednesday that the police should be going after actual crimes. Now, for me, there's a disconnect there. What Mark Rowley wants, the head of the Met Police, he wants leadership from the government to write a note to the police forces saying stop doing it. But all we're hearing is language, not actual action.
Okay, so...
And I think that shouldn't Parliament step up and just do this and tell police to stop prosecuting people for freedom.
With immediate effect.
Immediate effect.
And it will surprise me deeply if Shabana does not do that with immediate effect.
It's obvious.
I had my bag stolen a couple of weeks ago. I couldn't even get through to the police to report. I rang up the police. They said, not an emergency, go on the website. I went on the
crime number.
Yeah, went on the website. They didn't even ask me my name. I couldn't even report the crime. So with fundamental restoration of trust in relation to the police.
Priorities, isn't it?
Yeah, and these are political, not legal decisions.
I've talked earlier about Morgan McSweeney, and I tell him, you work with him. Do you talk to him much now? He's
a bit busy at the moment. Yeah.
Give him advice on what he's up to. He listens to you.
But I really, really respect him. I mean,
he's the person I think who understands this Labour movement that you're running. Donald Trump is here next week. I could ask you about the controversy about Peter Mandelson. You're following all this, are you? There's new photographs emerged of him with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, this occurred when I was in DC for the inauguration. I obviously had to meet a lot of MAGA people And they would just show me photographs of Peter Manson blowing out the birthday candles with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, I sent the alarm messages saying, think about this. But he has, he was considered the right man to do the trade deal.
Which he did.
And I think he has done it.
So Peter, you warned Number 10 about Peter Mandelson, what was going on in Washington about him.
I just told them what people were coming up to me, a chopper with their phones like this, go, look at it. And
did you warn the PM personally?
No, I didn't do
But
that.
people around him?
Yeah.
And this still went ahead. I mean, and now it's, where we sit by the end of this week, we'll wait and see.
Yeah,
Do you think he should go? I mean...
I think his job is done.
Is done. Because it is going to overshadow what is the big week next week. It's the second state visit of a US president.
And it's a big deal, and this is the point I'm making all the time, is that of all the countries in all the world, Donald Trump and the MAGA movement actually love England and the UK. They've got Scotland, they've got a real feeling for it, and they want this partnership. I think we should really move into a position where we can reciprocate. I mean, I want no tariffs. I want.
With 10% tariffs, not 15. I think.
Oh no, we've already, and a lot of those have got exceptions. They don't want to impose the tariffs on us.
No.
We've got to move into a position of real amity in relation to that.
I was in Washington last week. Very luckily, with GB News, we launched our US operation. The Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, said that this is your Brexit dividend. You've got these lesser tariffs than the European Union.
And they want to give more, but we've got to establish, the Bevin, Ernest Bevin, who I mentioned before, his policy after the war was maximum alliance with the US, maximum autonomy from the US. So he insisted we had our own independent nuclear deterrent. America
until we could afford it.
Of huge pressure. Well, we should never have and what we've got to have now with our supply chains for weapons production is independent of US involvement. So we can support Ukraine independently of what the Americans do.
So the choice to be made here, and it means moving away from the European Union. You may have called it a corpse earlier, I forget what you said, but certainly move away from the European Union and just face full on the US as an independent but a friend of them.
Completely, and then build our bilateral relationships. Ukraine, Baltic states, Scandinavia, they all support Britain in our robust attitude to Ukraine. So the old is the new. The balance of power in Europe has always been Paris, Berlin, London.
Are you still in touch with J.D. Vance? Did you see him on a visit in the summer?
I was in Ukraine when he was here.
But we have good connections with the administration now, it seems.
Yeah, very
good. He likes Keir Starmer, which is good.
No, very, very good. And the conversations are very interesting and very strong. We have to move into position to be a powerful sovereign nation again. And we could be the leading power in Europe. If we do this industrialization, weapons production, army, then...
Do you want a department for war?
We've got one.
Minister of Defence. But he's renamed his Department for War in America, hasn't he?
Yeah, but look, John Healey is another one of the ministers who I respect deeply, along with Steve Reed, I must add, who very important.
So stepping back,
he's gone into housing.
Steve Reed of housing, and of course, as a former Lambeth councillor, I think, who knew a lot about housing then. He's well respected in terms of taking on the left.
Well, I think Shabana Mahmood, John Healey, Steve Reed, these to me are leading lights in this cabinet.
Yeah, and see how it plays out. So if we take a step back then, you think this is getting to where this government's getting to where you want it to be in terms of priorities?
I don't think it has a choice. I think reality will bear down, and I think obviously what you've got in the Labour Party are many good people who grew up in a certain era, and that era believed these things to be true, as the American Constitution did. The future is globalization. Technology dissolves borders. The future is multilateral cooperation. They genuinely believe this really sincerely from their heart. And it's terrifying for them that the world is about sovereignty, it's about borders, it's about stopping immigration. It's a very difficult journey for them to make fast, but they've got to make it.
Lord Glasman, Maurice Glasman, the founder of Blue Labour, some would say that was the godfather of this Labour government, I think, someone who's looked up to by people at PCA, people in number 10. Thank you for joining us on Chopper's Political Podcast.
Chopper, honour to you and a pleasure to be with you.
Keep watching GB News.
Don't stop.
I tweeted Christopher Hope on X. What's your Twitter handle?
Don't tweet.
Good man. Email me, chopper@gbnews.uk if you want to get in touch. Let me know what you think of what Maurice Glasman had to say. If you enjoyed this show, please tell your friends. If you really enjoyed it, leave a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to help other people to find it. Thanks to the great team of colleagues behind the show, Mick Booker and Jeff Marsh back at base, and Rebecca Nunes and George McMillan. Those busy summer bees have been working hard all summer to get great guests for this podcast, including Maurice Glasman. But most importantly of all, thank you again for listening. If you want more Chopper in your life, and who doesn't? Maurice does. Do catch me during the week on GB News with our latest political stories. But until next time, cheerio!